This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
Well, it is Monday, July 14th. That means it's 1 year and 1 day since we came within centimeters of just a world-changing event in Butler, Pennsylvania. We got lucky, thank God. Trump got grazed in the ear. He went down on the ground for 1 minute and 1 second. I timed it yesterday, 61 seconds. I was watching it live. He went down and the Secret Service jumped on him. I was watching and screaming to my wife saying, they killed Trump. They just killed Trump. I didn't know he would get up. I stood there just waiting anxiously. He got up, of course. He raised his fist. He said, fight, fight, fight. They escorted him off. We still have so many questions. It's amazing it's been a year and a day, and we still don't know who Thomas Crooks was texting with, communicating with on his encrypted app. We still don't know who else was involved. Nobody believes a 20-year-old nursing home worker, dishwasher, cook at a nursing home managed to pull that off by himself. We know there was negligence on the part of the Secret Service. They suspended 6 agents. Nobody got fired. Nobody got arrested. And here we sit a year later. And here's, to me, this, we talk a lot about the corruption, the bias, the Trump derangement syndrome in the mainstream media. You have never seen it to the level it was at 1 year ago today. That would be a year ago, a year and a day after the assassination attempt on Trump that he survived miraculously. I'm just going to say it. Many, many people in the mainstream media were disappointed. I'm not sure they wanted him dead. They wanted him incapacitated. They wanted him out of the race. They wanted to do everything, as always, they could do to help a Democrat win, to help defeat Donald Trump. They failed, but let's remind you of CNN's coverage. CNN, Donald Trump did 66, 67 rallies. CNN covered one live. That would be the Butler, PA rally, which obviously ignited a lot of conspiracy theories that they knew this was coming. I don't believe that. I think they were anticipating a possible announcement of his running mate. I'm not going to buy into that conspiracy theory, but I'll get to some of the others that I'm buying into. On this one, I will give CNN a pass. They didn't know there was going to be an assassination attempt. They thought there might be an announcement that J.D. Vance was the vice presidential pick. It didn't happen, but they covered it live. They were lucky. It was the most important live news event in our lifetimes, and they were there for it. But here is your headline. Let me just read the headline from today, 1 year ago, on CNN.com. This is amazing. This is hard to believe it's real, but it is. Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. Yes, you didn't know that's what happened last year, Butler, PA, July 13th, 6:08 p.m. Trump fell. They literally had it live on their network. They showed you the bullets. They showed you the blood. They had the whole thing. And they put in their headline, in their story on CNN.com, that Trump fell. That is a place that we know CNN is dying. We know their ratings are terrible, but that is a place that is just hopelessly afflicted with Trump derangement. And they're not the only ones. Let me get to a few more headlines. I went through these yesterday. Couldn't believe they were real. There was a few people compiling. Here's a headline from USA Today. Trump removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startles former president. Loud noises. Here's another one. NBC News. Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after popping noises heard at Pennsylvania rally. Popping noises. Los Angeles Times. Trump whisked off stage in Pennsylvania after loud noises rang through the crowd. After loud noises, I saw this live. Everyone saw it within minutes. It was a big breaking news story, complete with video that showed you the blood. You heard the loud noises. We knew they killed crooks in a matter of seconds. We knew the Secret Service snipers took him out. So where was the mystery in the time between the shooting and the time they wrote these stories and posted these stories? It's hard to believe that's real. It wasn't just some snap, reaction to it. This was them covering the story, sitting down, typing up stories for their audience. Oh, here's the best one. Denver Post, last year, July 14th. Headline, the Sunday Denver Post. Gunman dies in attack. That's all they write. Gunman dies in attack. Well, also a fireman, Corey Compaturi, died in attack. Yep. Trump was injured in the attack. 2 other people severely injured. A 20-year-old psychopath made it past Secret Service, got up on the roof, and took at least 8 shots at the 45th president. And their headline is Gunman Dies in Attack. That not only is something you write, that is something an editor looks at and signs off on and says, yeah, this is our headline. Gunman dies in attack. These people are sick. They're insane. The Sunday shows, this was Saturday night, obviously 6 p.m., just after 6 p.m. in Butler, Pennsylvania. And the Sunday shows were filled with these people who are just deranged, who were genuinely disappointed. They were disappointed. Trump was just grazed. He was fine. He wasn't even going to miss a day on the campaign trail. He was going to show up at the Republican convention the following week with a Band-Aid on his ear, and he was going to be stronger than ever. What didn't kill him made him stronger. As I tweeted at that time last year on July 13th, I said, he either dies or he wins. When he first went down, we weren't sure. Did he take a bullet in the neck, in the head? He survived and he won. And it was the most iconic moment. That's the moment that Elon Musk endorsed Trump, and the train just started rolling and they couldn't stop it. And it drove them insane. They thought they were going to be able to stop Trump, help Biden, help Kamala. It didn't work out that way. And this was a big reason why, which is why they hate this story so much. They don't want to know. They don't want to know any more about Thomas Crooks. They want to move on. They want to downplay it. When you look back, not only the coverage last summer, but all year, it's remarkable that our 45th and 47th president came within a centimeter of dying right there on stage, live on CNN. And it was barely covered. And we just moved on, said, there's a lot of violent rhetoric out there. George Stephanopoulos and Martha Raddatz, these two absolutely, they might be the 2 most dishonest people in the media, 2 people that despise Trump. Stephanopoulos cost his network $15 million because he lied about Trump when he was told to stop. He was told, stop calling him a rapist, and he kept calling him a rapist. And what did Trump do? He sued and he won, and he should have won, because that is malice aforethought right there. We'll get to more malice aforethought because I think AOC's in trouble. But let's get to Steffi and Martha Raddatz. Last year, 1 year ago today, talking about the assassination attempt, who do they blame? Who else? Trump. They blame Trump. This is like Jasmine Crockett saying Trump supporters tried to kill Trump. Martha Raddatz and George Stephanopoulos came to the conclusion that, the heated rhetoric from the campaign trail was the reason Thomas Crooks climbed up on that slope roof and took a shot at the president.
No question about that. But as you point out those statements from J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy, of course, President Trump and his supporters have contributed to this violent rhetoric as well.
Well, absolutely, George. We were just looking back this morning at some of the things that former President Trump has said. He warned last March of potential death and destruction if he were charged by the Manhattan District Attorney. Our country is being destroyed as they tell us to be peaceful. Trump in January warned of bedlam in the country if the criminal charges against him succeeded. And of course, in March, he said, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That will be the least of it. He said he was partly joking and that was taken out of context.
She knows, everybody knows, bloodbath was referring to the auto industry. He didn't say he was joking. He said it if you played the whole clip. If you put it in context, he said if Biden wins and we have foreign car companies built, foreign cars built in Mexico, shipped in this country, that it would be a bloodbath in the auto industry. She knows that. By the way, she lists 3 or 4 things Trump said. Which one would lead someone to kill Trump? The idea that his rhetoric, him saying there'd be bedlam if he were convicted and jailed, that's a fact. There would be bedlam. There would be mayhem. We wouldn't know. No one would know what to do. He was the nominee, and they were trying to put him in jail. Of course, there'd be bedlam. And again, bloodbath in the auto industry. But she intentionally leaves that out because she's a liar, and this was one day after the assassination, and she's telling you that Trump advanced their heated rhetoric. Oh, I don't know. Since that day, we've seen a lot of violence, a lot of politically motivated violence. We saw the guy in Boulder, Colorado, throw the Molotov cocktails, killing one elderly Jewish woman. We saw the 2 embassy workers assassinated on streets of D.C. We saw Brian Thompson, the CEO, shot in the back by a left-wing fanatic. Over and over again, we see the violence in L.A. and New York. Does Martha Raddatz come on and say, oh, it's Tim Walz's fault and Dan Goldman's fault and Steve Lynch's fault because they said Gestapo and Nazi and all? I mean, they don't make the connection. Only when it comes to Trump. And Trump, if Biden was shot because of Trump's rhetoric, that'd be one thing. Trump was shot. And they're blaming Trump for Trump's rhetoric. They will never get over this. They thought they could stop him. They failed to stop him. They are like forever aggrieved, bereaved by the fact that Trump is back in the White House, and they failed in their mission to stop him. It is amazing. And now they have to deal with the consequences, which is just to me it's laughable. They were over the weekend, if you missed it, they were devastating cuts at the State Department. Oh, they gutted the place, Smitty. They gutted the place. I mean, it's hollowed out. There's nobody there. We have no State Department anymore. These people were 1,300 people out of 70,000 were laid off. This is what Trump promised to do. This is what Musk promised, and Doge promised to do. They're doing it. They're doing what voters voted for. They're doing what they said they would do. And the media wants you to believe they're like taking them out like Saddam Hussein did, taking them out of their seat and out back and shooting them in the head. They're getting laid off. I'll give you the numbers. And you're supposed to think this is fascism. When they got laid off, they put signs up in the bathroom, signs up in their windows saying, resist fascism. So it's fascism to lay off less than 1% of this bloated federal workforce. Again, a promise, an initiative that they promised to do, and they better do it. I mean, we know there's so much waste in the federal government. Musk and Doge have shown us that over and over again. But I'll give you the numbers. This is from the Washington Examiner on the heels of this emotional moment where a handful of State Department hacks, I'm looking at them crying right now, weeping and crying and consoling each other. Haven't most people been laid off, been fired once or twice in their life? Doesn't that happen? Isn't that part of life? These people just think they're going to have a job forever. It's never going to go away because they're federal employees and they're out there doing heroic work. Here's the State Department numbers. The State Department in 2007 had 57,340 employees. It grew to 72,895 in 2015, and in 2024 under Joe Biden, 80,214. So in in 17 years, went from 57 to 80,000. Trump laid off, or the Trump administration laid off 1,300 over the weekend, 1,300. And they left the office with their boxes and their stuff to cheers and tears because 1,300 out of 80,000. Surprised they even had boxes because these are people that didn't go to work. We know only 6% of the federal workforce has even shown up for work in the last 5 years. But we have the video of them leaving to tears and cheers as they lose their jobs. Just 1,300 of 80,000. Check this out.
This is devastating. This is also self-sabotage, pulling people back from the front lines when we really need them the most. Now that we have the tensions in the Middle East, ascendant China, and aggressive Russia, what are we doing pulling back the people who know how to deal with these tensions in the world?
And to those that have been riffed, to those that have been fired today, I just want to say, I'm sorry. And you have deserved better than this. I think every single person, when you leave this building, you walk through out those doors for the final time, you should do it with honor and dignity.
How much honor and dignity did they demand for the 11,000 workers of the Keystone XL pipeline who got laid off the first day Joe Biden took office? How many tears flowed for the 7,000 people in the military who were fired for not taking the vax? How many people in the private sector who lost everything because Fauci and company shut down the country unnecessarily for COVID, put people out of work, lost their restaurants, their homes, their gyms? I did a whole show on friends of mine who owned a gym for 33 years, a great gym, a neighborhood gym, plenty of members, loyal people, and they couldn't make it through COVID because of all the insane restrictions. It wasn't COVID. It was the overreaction to COVID. Put them out of business after 33 years. They didn't get a lot of cheers and tears on CNN or MSNBC. They don't give a shit about people in the private sector. Lay them all off. Oil workers, energy workers, screw them. But you lay off a State Department hack, pencil, paper pusher, and we're supposed to think we're supposed to think fascism is taking hold in this country. That's where we are. Fascism. Resist fascism because they get laid off. I would love for them to do the little Elon Musk exercise. Give me 5 things you did the last week. 5 things, to promote democracy. It is amazing. This is getting criticized from both sides. Obviously, if you're a Democrat, if you're a liberal, if you're in the media, no one in the federal government can ever be laid off. No cut can ever be made. You can't. If you cut something at USAID, kids in Sudan are going to die. If you cut someone at the State Department, there's going to be turmoil in the Middle East without us. We're heroes. You can never lay off any one of the 2.5 million people in the federal workforce. Lay off anyone, and it's fascism, and people will die. They're dying in the streets because you're laid off. Less than 1% of the federal workforce. These people are just despicable. And the good thing is, if this were, a President Romney or a McCain or something, you'd say they're never going to do it. They don't have the guts. But Trump knows he has to do this. He knows he promised to do this, and he knows that's what people voted for. All right, we got much more to get to on this Monday. We got to get to the big scandal. You know what? The Biden administration as a whole is you list the top 10 scandals you've seen from a presidential administration in the last generation. They get the top 10. They got the top. We know the cover-up of Biden's cognitive decline would be number 1, but this Autopen thing has just gotten interesting. Joe Biden talked to the New York Times over the weekend or last week about the Autopen. It's the first time he's talked to the New York Times since before he was he never gave them an interview during his 4 years in the White House. But he gave him an interview and he talked about the Autopen, and this is a scandal. He doesn't even know who he pardoned. He admits it. He doesn't know who he pardoned. And some of the pardons came after 10 p.m. Does anyone think Joe Biden was staying up late to pardon Dr. That's the best part. Dr. Fauci's pardon came after 10 p.m. And we're supposed to believe Joe Biden knew about that? I don't think so. We'll get to that. And we have to get to this, the latest on the LA, on the heroic work ICE is doing in the LA area at these marijuana farms. It's amazing what they're getting done, who they're finding. And it has put Democrats in an impossible position. They now have to defend. If you're a Democrat, if you're a member of the media, if you're Abby Phillips on CNN or Martha Raddatz, you have to defend children unaccompanied children working on marijuana farms. Good luck with that, Martha. Do you listen to yourself? We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
You know, nothing wakes you up like losing a loved one. I know, I've been there a little too often recently. You think, what about me? You do a lot of soul searching and you wonder, will my family be prepared financially if something were to happen to me? The last thing you want is your family to worry about how they're going to pay the bills. With life insurance from Ethos, your family is protected. I know it's not a pleasant thought, but you know what's worse? Wondering, will my family be able to stay in the house? Will my kids be able to go to college? Will my wife be able to pay the bills? Life insurance from Ethos gives you peace of mind. I know it did for me. It's one big bucket list thing you get to cross off. I know traditional life insurance can be complicated, but Ethos isn't. Ethos makes it easy. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Newsmax. That's ethos.com/Newsmax.
Excuse me.
You know, nothing wakes you up like losing a loved one. I've been there a little too often recently. You think, what about me? You do a lot of soul searching and you wonder, will my family be prepared financially if something were to happen to me? The last thing you want is your family to worry about how they're going to pay the bills. With life insurance from Ethos, your family is protected. I know it's not a pleasant thought, but you know what's worse? Wondering, will my family be able to stay in the house? Will my kids be able to go to college? Will my wife be able to pay the bills? Life insurance from Ethos gives you peace of mind. I know it did for me. It's one big bucket list thing you get to cross off. I know traditional life insurance can be complicated, but Ethos isn't. Ethos makes it easy. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Newsmax. That's ethos.com/Newsmax. We'll get to the latest on the Bongino and Patel versus Bondi. I know which side I'm pulling for. I think most people out there are siding with Bongino and Patel. But we'll get to we got to get to the latest on this LA farm raid because, as usual, it is a great story. It is a great success. ICE is doing great work out there. They're doing what we voted for. They're making LA safer, cleaner, less traffic, better living conditions. And at every step of the way, every public official, because they're all Democrats, are trying to stop them. Karen Bass, she's literally impeding ICE. Newsom's calling them all kinds of names. And what they're doing is making life better for citizens in Los Angeles. And we told you about this raid last week. We talked about it on Friday, but here are the results. 361 criminal illegal aliens arrested at these marijuana farms, including 14 kids who were rescued. There were 14 kids, 10 unaccompanied, working on a marijuana farm, illegal alien children. So ICE, the Trump administration, busts a marijuana farm whose owner was a big donor to Gavin Newsom, saving children, literally saving children who are working in slave labor conditions. And what do Democrats say? What do the media say? Oh, they're snatching people off the street. They're disappearing innocent people. They have to lie because they know that people support this, that people voted for this. And as we played, Abby Phillips of CNN, and she's just a dummy anyway, but she was forced, I guess, because Trump did it, to defend to defend kids working on marijuana farms. And Jillian Michaels is in disbelief going, wait a second, we're talking about children, we're talking about a 14-year-old illegal alien, probably from, I don't know, Mexico or Guatemala, being forced to pick marijuana. And you're upset that we caught them, that we freed them? That's the position that Trump has put them in. They must, if you're Karen Bass, if you're Adam Schiff, if you're Newsom, you have to defend this unconscionable crime. I had many, many questions. I want to know, I guess I got the answer to it, but why wasn't the owner of the marijuana farm, who owns a whole bunch of them, why isn't he in jail for hiring kids, for forcing kids, illegal alien children? I mean, what did they hold over them? Did they make them pay the debt to the cartel? Did they tell them their family at home to be killed? How did they get kids to work in these marijuana farms? And we should be giving frickin' awards to these ICE agents who are putting their lives on the line to save children. But I want to play Abby Phillips attempting to defend this, telling Jillian Michaels, but it's legal. It's legal to employ a 14-year-old illegal alien in a marijuana farm. Again, Trump's put these people in an impossible position. They're not giving up, though. They're going to fight for the right of marijuana farm owners to hire illegal alien and children, keep them in bondage, picking the marijuana.
You're telling me undocumented?
I'm not saying the undocumented. I'm not talking about the
marijuana farm.
I'm not talking about the undocumented part, but according to this statement, in this country, not just at farm, not at marijuana farms, at all
semantics.
Farms.
Look at the reality of what
I'm
we're
just
talking about. How did an unaccompanied, undocumented 14-year-old in the middle of the day?
I believe that, and many people might believe, children should be subject to child labor laws.
Absolutely.
But it's true in this country that when it comes to agricultural work, they're not. And that includes marijuana farms. So the legality of their status is a separate issue. But the fact of children being there is not actually something that is necessarily illegal.
I have a really hard time believing
So there's that.
I'm sitting there listening, and Jillian Michaels going, what? That is the quote of the year, the quote of the decade is, do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself, Abby? You are advocating for a guy who owns a marijuana farm, hiring a 14-year-old illegal alien to work, God knows what kind of hours, what kind of conditions. You can't defend the kid and say, thank God that they freed this child from this bondage. You are going to double down and say, hey, that kid can't work in a bar, can't work in a liquor store. He can't sell weed on the street corner, but he can pick weed for some, some big. I'm looking at a picture of one of the people they busted. This is from the Customs and Border Patrol account. Here he is. They write, this illegal alien was apprehended at the California marijuana facility. Turns out he's been sentenced to 7 years for kidnapping and attempted rape with a prior conviction for attempted child molestation. This felon was working at the same farm as 10 kids, one who was 14 years old. So you had an illegal alien convicted and sentenced for kidnapping and attempted rape and convicted for attempted child molestation, working alongside a 14-year-old. And CNN said, well, that's the way it works on farms. You're allowed to hire 14-year-old illegal aliens. God. They just can't, hear themselves. They really can't. All right, we got a lot to get to. I got to get to this Bongino. I mean, Pam Bondi's in a bad spot. It's her own making. It's her own doing. She came up with that stupid stunt where she gave all the influencers a little binder with nothing in it. They all feel betrayed. They feel used. They're all pissed. I heard Jack Posobiec over the weekend talking about this. They're all... you get the libs of TikTok and DC Drano, all these big-time right-wing influencers were used, so they aren't big fans of Bondi. And I saw her, we talked about it, saying we will see the list, not the files, the list. And she said it was sick and disturbing, and we would all get to see it. And then they said, we're moving on. Now, she might be under orders from Trump. That was Bill O'Reilly's contention. Don't blame her, blame Trump. Well, sure, we will blame Trump too. But she's the one that overpromised. She's the one that just said we would see it. and then we weren't. So obviously people feel lied to. So they blame her, and they should. Over the weekend, the big report out of all everywhere came to the news that Bongino threatened to quit if she weren't fired. We don't know that hasn't come from Bongino. Patel put out a tweet saying, "Don't believe the conspiracy theories. He's going nowhere." Because there was also the theory that Patel would go with Bongino. Trump can never allow that to happen. He could never allow Patel and Bongino to quit. He would have to tell Bondi to step down. But Trump doubled down. I don't like this. I'm telling you right now, Smitty, I don't like this. As I said last week, this was like the biggest misstep, if you could call it that, the biggest misstep in so far in Trump's term is demanding we move on. I'm sorry. We're not people aren't moving on. They're just not. You saw it at the Turning Point event. One speaker after another. Benny Johnson said the loudest ovation of the event was for people who said, we need to see the Epstein file. Those are diehard MAGA people, diehard Trumpkins, and they are demanding we see the file. This is a miscalculation on the part of Trump to think even his most devout followers, we're going to say, sure, we're moving on. Trump wants us to move on. There are a few people who say we should move on, but for the most part, people feel betrayed. They were promised in the campaign. We would see the Epstein files. They were promised in February. We watched this stupid stunt with those empty binders. What are they doing? Here's what scares me, literally scares me. What if someone, powerful forces, and I'm not going to say whatever, Israel, the Mossad, but somebody got to Trump and pressured him and told him, you just can't release this. There are powerful people it will destroy. You think Trump will be the last guy to succumb to that kind of pressure? But it makes the most sense. Why else? Why else is he demanding we move on? Why else is he saying, it's old news and all that? It concerns me that Trump is doubling down. I want to get his post, which was long and disappointing to say the least. He's still insisting it's not a big deal when his people are saying, here it is this morning, he posts, on Truth, what's going on with my boys, and in some cases gals? They're all going after Pam Bondi, who's doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, laptop from hell? They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that was used on me. And now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? That's irrelevant. I don't think Trump's in the files. I don't think it's going to incriminate him, because if he were in it, you're damn right, Brennan and Comey and Biden and Harris would have released them. But it's not irrelevant. People aren't moving on. Either Bondi has to go or she has to produce the evidence. I don't see any other way to go here. Bongino ain't going. Trump made that clear. Patel said he's not going. So either Bondi goes and they blame it all on her, or they release the files. In a related development, according to the Daily Mail, Ghislaine Maxwell said she's ready to reveal the truth and is willing to come to Washington and testify. That would be pretty wild. And why would you resist that? Why? It is indeed kind of scary that they managed to just shut down this whole story. and get to Trump for whatever reason. And he can't, again, he's the most transparent guy we've ever seen in the White House. This isn't transparent. This isn't honest. You're not telling the truth. And maybe there's a good reason. Maybe you could leak it to someone, but you got to come clean on this. Here we have Trump on Bongino.
Yes, we do.
He talked to him because Bongino didn't talk. He might have talked off the record to some friends, but that was a bombshell over the weekend. Bongino saying it's either me or her. And I mean, MAGA world is not divided on this. It is 100 to zip. People love Bongino. They're not big fans of Pam Bondi right here, but here's Trump trying to diffuse the situation.
Oh, I think so. I did. I spoke to him today. Dan Bongino, very good guy. I've known him a long time. I've done his show many, many times. And he sounded terrific, actually. No, I think he's in good shape.
You know, he was ratioed. Trump, the first time ever on Truth Social, he was ratioed. People aren't happy. They're just not. Here's the repost. 1.2 million comments, 4,000 likes. But, you know, people are rooting for Trump. They want him to get through this, but they're not moving on. They're not forgetting what they promised. And I can't look at Bondi the same anymore. I know she deceived us. I know for whatever reason, she didn't keep her promise. So she can go on Hannity every night. And I don't look at her the same. I feel like she's hiding something. So they either have to, oh God, there's a picture of Trump. This is another thing. You want to, Trump posted that he won between all the meetings and everything else and going to the soccer game. He went to Bedminster and won the club championship. Again, it's not possible. It was a two-man team, so I'm assuming his partner was good. He's 79. He said it was the gross, not the net. He doesn't play golf that often, despite what people say. He only gets out like once a week. You can't win a club championship if you're 79 and you're not playing a lot, but whatever. That's one of those silly claims. I can live with that, but I'm not moving on. We're not moving on. But we are moving on to President Autopen. Talk about just throwing fuel on the fire. Let me get the story. Over the weekend, apparently, Joe Biden talked to the New York Times. Again, he never talked to, in 4 years. They're his biggest fans. He never talked to the Times or the Washington Post, who don't even pretend to be journalists. They are Trump haters. They were Biden fans. They are Democrats, devout Democrats. And he never gave them the time of day. It's amazing. Trump talks to the frickin' New York Times more than Biden did. Here's from the Daily Caller. Joe Biden told the New York Times that he granted his staff the use of the Autopen because, quote, he'd granted clemency to so many people. He admits he didn't know who he was pardoning and giving clemency to because there were over 8,000, including people with child porn and killers and the judge that took kickbacks to send kids in Philadelphia, send kids to prison where some of them killed themselves. That guy, he pardoned him because he didn't know what he was doing. It says in the first time interview with the New York Times, Biden addressed House Republican investigations into his alleged use of the Autopen to sign various documents. The former president told the outlet that he personally approved of all the pardon and commutation to the end of his term, but had directed his staff to use the Autopen on clemency warrants because we're talking about a whole lot of people. That is not legal. Those aren't legitimate. It says in the Constitution that one man has the power to do this. And he just admitted it wasn't one man. It wasn't him. So, and you want to talk about suspicious. There's one pardon that has his signature on it, legit signature. People have done the analysis. The Autopen was used for everybody else. One man got a pardon directly from Joe Biden. That would be Hunter Biden. Why do you think he did that? Why do you think he made it clear that he was putting his signature on one pardon and not all the others? Because he wanted to make sure that would hold up to any challenges. And it will. Hunter Biden's in the clear. Dr. Fauci's not. According to the New York Times, let me get the details on this. Fauci was pardoned after 10 p.m. So was Milley and the January 6ers, Schiff and Cheney and the rest, and Kinzinger. These were after Joe Biden was long since in bed. Nobody believes Joe Biden was out signing pardons after 10 p.m. So hopefully James Comer's oversight committee will look into this, because these aren't legit. This is the job of one man, and that one man admitted he didn't know all the people who were getting pardons. So the people they're bringing in, these secret cabal people that were controlling Biden, they've already brought in the doctor who pleaded the fifth, but they're going to bring in 9 others. That's the question. Explain to us how the Fauci pardon went down, because it's not legit. It really isn't. And it's time to fight dirty. It's time to, hold these people accountable. They were acting as president. He was in the White House and they were using the Autopen. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you bring it to him wherever he is, whether he's laying on the couch, or say, here, sign this? But no, they just use the Autopen, which means they're not legit. And the New York Times, here it is. At a January 19th meeting, this would be his last day, took place in the Oval Room in the White House. Mr. Biden kept his aides until nearly 10 p.m. to talk through his decisions. Does anyone believe that? Does anyone believe Joe Biden was there till 10 p.m.? The email showed that an aide to Mr. Siskel sent a draft summary of Mr. Biden's decisions at a meeting to an assistant to Mr. Zients. These are the cabal members. The assistant forwarded to Mr. Zients, asking for their approval, and then sent a version over, copying many participants at 10:28 p.m. Does anyone believe Joe Biden was involved in a decision that took place at 10:30 p.m.? They said he couldn't do meetings after 4 p.m. The scandal grows. Good, because it's a big one. All right. I want to get to the latest on Alligator Alcatraz, which is just a great idea. Anytime DeSantis is involved, it's just a good idea. By the way, there are people out there conducting polls. Who should take Pam Bondi's job if she indeed steps down, which she may? To me, number one, Ron DeSantis. He's got 1.5 years left on his term. He's term limited out. He needs a job. Ron DeSantis would be the guy who should be the next AG, because he gets stuff done. Hell, he built Alligator Alcatraz in like a week. And they're allowing congressmen, senators to tour the place if they would like. And they think this is like a winning message, to go in there and say, oh, the conditions are awful. There's mosquitoes. There's 30 people in a wing, and they all have to share. And I'm like, these are hardened criminals. They're not supposed to be in the Roosevelt Hotel anymore. This is what we voted for. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz, this repulsive congresswoman from Florida, she got a tour of. By the way, they have these starkly different versions. Some people said they're in good conditions in there, everyone's fine, and others said, oh, it's inhumane. It's like Abu Ghraib. I mean, I don't care. I mean, do a lot of people care if there are mosquitoes, or if it's hot, or if it's cold? I mean, they are criminals. They're not supposed to be comfortable. Anyway, here's Debbie Wasserman Schultz telling you what she saw.
They essentially drink. They get their drinking water and they brush their teeth, where they poop in the same unit. They bragged that they went above standards, supposedly, and gave them a 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length inside the 32 detainee cage. A 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length of the 3 toilets.
All right. They brush their teeth and drink water where they poop. That's a congresswoman. You know what that is, lady? That's called a bathroom? Does anyone brush their teeth anywhere other than where the toilet is? Does anyone like go out to the living room or I don't know, brush? That is a bathroom, lady. That's how it works. And she thinks that's appealing to the public. Like, oh no, they make them brush their teeth in the bathroom? Not that. She admitted there's a privacy thing. So it's not like they're all and 100 guys, watching each other do their business. even if they were, I mean, that's a prison. It's a prison, and these are bad guys that were terrorizing this country for the last 4 years, and now they're where they belong. I got more good news. AOC's in trouble. AOC, we know Trump has been litigious, and it's worked. We know he sued ABC and won, sued CBS and won millions. His presidential library, by the way, is going to be like Trump Tower. It's going to be gold fixtures, real gold, because he's all this money he's winning from these defamation suits is going towards his presidential library, allegedly. Here's a slam dunk. Trump has to pursue this. AOC over the weekend. She tweets this. This is remarkable. I know she's a dummy, but this is so stupid. Just such a gaffe. She tweets, wow, who would have thought that electing a rapist would have complicated the release of the Epstein files? That's a congresswoman. Hell, that's the biggest star in the party. That is textbook defamation right there. She knows he was not convicted of rape. She knows he's not a rapist. The case was in New York. She's from New York. We followed the E. Jean Carroll case closely. It was a joke. She made it all up. She didn't know when it happened, didn't even know the year. She wore a dress on the cover of New York Magazine claiming it was the dress she wore when he raped her. It didn't even come out till years after the alleged incident. They changed the law, extended the statute of limitations just so she could go after Trump, knowing that she would get a conviction in New York. She didn't get raped. They said he didn't rape her. They said he sexually assaulted her. So that's not true, and AOC knows it. That is defamation. And if Trump pursues that, he wins. She knows, well, maybe she doesn't. You can lie on the House floor. You can lie on the Senate floor. Remember when Harry Reid said Mitt Romney didn't pay any taxes? He later admitted he made that up, but he had immunity. He had protection because he was on the Senate floor. She was tweeting this. She didn't say this on the House floor. She tweeted that knowing it's not true. I will be really disappointed and surprised if Trump doesn't pursue that, because to me, that looks like a no-brainer, clearly a slam dunk for Donald Trump. But we'll see. He's a busy man these days. He's busy winning club championships and showing up at the photobombing the FIFA World Cup. Did you see that one in New Jersey? He went to the game, and then afterwards they gave the trophy. He was in every picture. It must have pissed off some of these soccer people who don't like Trump. Some of the international crowd must not have liked that, but Trump did it anyway. And he's supposed to announce a big deal, a big announcement about Russia. He's busy, and he's kicking ass, and he's wrong about the Epstein thing. That they have to find a way to get through this, resolve this, because nobody is moving on. And I think Pam Bondi has to go, and Ron DeSantis or Harmeet Dillon, I would be okay with her too. She's in charge of the Civil Rights Division. She's a warrior. She would be okay too. But it doesn't sound like Cash and Bongino can work with Pam Bondi much longer. And I'm telling you, 100% of MAGA world is behind Bongino and Patel. But we will see. We will leave it there for today. Monday, July 14th, the day CNN told you Trump fell in Butler, Pennsylvania. Yeah, he fell. I'm looking at that headline. How do you do that? How do you write that headline? Trump fell? I mean, if he fell, it was because he was shot, but he didn't fall. They just made it up. These people are sick. But it's good to know he's still driving them totally insane. It's good to see. But that will do it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
They get their drinking water and they brush their teeth where they poop.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.